right, go.
All right. While I'm doing this too, I thought maybe we could talk about the process. It's really important to think about what you need to do with each step. Because touching the clay needlessly just adds water to it, which makes it way more plastic than as beginners you want it to be. So first thing you're going to do is what? I want to throw a pie. What do I do? Center it?
Yeah. Wedge it.
Well, obviously I wedged it already.
Last time you asked that, and wedge was the first.
Yeah, I'm in advance. Okay, so how I'm going to be going as fast as I can go? No. How fast? That fast?
Right. A little bit fast.
Steve said faster.
A little fast. Everyone's there.
There? Okay, now what do I do?
Your hands wet. Would you like more water?
Oh, maybe it would be good, but I mean, it's fine. Okay, now what?
Right.
One hand.
You need to support
Heel
your
it.
arm.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Then what?
Push down, push in and down.
Push down.
In and down. And with your heel, have your other hand be pushing in. Yeah.
Thanks. More like that?
Kind of. Getting up.
One thing is, remember, when you let go of the clay, it ease off the clay so you don't end up with a dent. Because remember, if I just push on the clay really hard and let go of it, it's uncentered. So yeah, so you need to press down and then release, 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 come away. Okay, now what?
Find the center of your top.
Okay, find the center. Do I need a ruler?
No,
No.
run your finger along the top.
Okay. All right.
Support it when you run it, press it up. No.
Oh, support it.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Then what? Push down.
Start poking. Leave room for the bottom.
Okay.
Don't go all the way to the bottom.
How much room do I need?
Quarter inch.
Okay.
You're going to check it with your tool.
It's about like that. Is that good?
Yeah, probably good. If you don't get it too wet in the bottom and thin it out, that'll be just right.
Well, the other thing is a lot of people have a tendency to, as you pull your bottom out, to go down. So if you do that, you really have to think about going up, and you'll be just about right. Okay, now what?
Pull out.
Pull out.
Put a finger in there and support it and pull it towards you.
Okay.
Support, support, support.
Okay, and one thing I talked to a lot of you about is when you do this, if instead of having your wrist up like this, you drop your wrist, look where your arm ends up. You have a lot more support that way. And it's pushing with the bottom of your finger that's important. Now, if you had somebody who wedged this properly, you would have the air bubble I have down there. So. And that's mine. Okay, another thing is as you get out to the edge here, linger on that outer edge, because if you come off too fast, you'll have an oval, and then you'll have tall side, short side, thin side, thick side, something like that. Oops. I'm compressing the bottom. I like to compress our bottom so we don't get any cracks. Another thing that can happen is if you find when you pull up that the size of your bottom's getting bigger and bigger and bigger, then make a narrower bottom. Because otherwise you'll end up with a really low piece, but not enough wall to come up because you've used up the clay that way. So if you find you have a propensity to do that, just make, when you open, don't open real far, and it'll end up with Okay. And as you get more experience, you'll be better at that. Okay, oh, now, what do I do now?
Support your body. Support
Okay.
your arm. Make a lobster claw with 2 hands, not 1.
Yeah, I have a big air bubble in here. Can you see it? You know, and I've never found that air bubbles in your walls blow up. I frequently, as my elbows gotten worse, I frequently, don't. Oh no, this is not, I was using scrap clay. Oh yeah.
You
Oh
don't have
yeah.
a chamois in there, do you?
There's some big piece of junk in there.
Got a chamois?
Or
That's what I had.
That's
Wait,
what
I threw that chamois away right away.
That's way too fast, way too fast, okay. We'll see how bad this is gonna be.
When do you call it quits on a piece?
Huh?
When do you call it quits on a piece?
This'll be fine. It's gonna be fine.
She meant it to be that way.
Yeah,
course.
yeah, I meant it that way.
It's because you're making a lid.
Yeah, this is not so good.
You are making a lid, correct?
I'm making the bottom first
Oh, okay, okay.
because I'm gonna make the key in the bottom here. So I'm making that first. This is bad. Is it the clay that's bad? Well,
Or because you took that whole off, that big chunk out of it.
yeah, well, it's a big chunk. Yeah. Well, and plus I was using scrap clay. I was trying not to use our good demo clay so Chris wouldn't be upset with me. Because it took a little bit of clay to make all these things for me. Well, it's a little bit. That's okay. It'll be good enough to do this. Okay, so after I get the walls fairly thin, then I can shape it. Beware of this. If you get the walls really thin and you're going to bow it out a whole lot, it's going to collapse. Because remember, that clay is stretching to a wider circumference, which means it's getting thinner. So if you anticipate you're going to bow a whole lot, you might want it a little bit thicker than you normally would go. Yeah. We'll make this work for this thing. Now, once I get the shape done, then I'm going to trim this off. And remember, go with it, not at it. You'll have less resistance.
I'm always afraid I'm going to put the needle tool in too far. All the way to my
Yeah.
I'm like really leery.
Well, the thing about that is just don't get freaked out when you go to do it. You start, second guessing yourself and backing up and being tentative. That's when it's going to go really bad. And I always clean off my bat because then I don't have to wash it off later. Okay, then you're going to take your and pull your wire across here. But since we're making a lid, and in my little container here, I have all kinds of little sticks for you that I specially made. Okay, so and what you want a flat like that, and see how thick my lip is, and how fat it is, and how even it is at the top. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go down here, and I'm just going to press because this thing is wacky. It's doing this thing like that. I'm just going to press it down. So then I've got my lid, so I've got that recess there. Okay, then what you're going to do is, these are called calipers. They'll be over on my shelf if you want to use them. And what I want to do is I want to get the junk off there. I want to say, what's the largest, the widest that my lid can be to fit in here? So what I threw for you today is each of you have one of these. And Bob, I made you a bigger one. each of you have one of these so you can practice this. You'll notice, no, they don't have bottoms, so we're just gonna, I'll find a place for you to just dump all these pieces in all this clay. If you want to cut off the top and use it on a hand wheel piece or another thrown piece, you can do that if you want. All right, so I've got the maximum size that my lid can be.
Now
to
you're
fit
doing
over
the
that.
outside of your lid, correct?
Right, this is the outside, because this is going to fit down
Down.
in here. Right, like this, okay, all right. So then, and I'm famous for dropping that on the floor and then messing up my, so you might want to have just a piece of newspaper that you can put a marking on, and you can just throw it on your shelf. You have to throw the lid and the vessel at the same time, because otherwise they shrink and you'll never be able to make it match. You know, you could be hopeful of that, but it won't work. Count on it. So if you got it recorded, then, you know, you can always go back.
Did you leave that wet, more wet intentionally?
No, not really.
Okay.
I just am trying to hurry along here. I don't want to take
Okay.
up all your time. Okay. I'm going to throw off the hump here. That means I'm going to center only the top portion of this, just so you see how that's done. Someday you'll do that. Right, Gwen?
Not yet.
Not yet?
I've
Oh, really?
tried it a couple of times and not succeeded.
Really? Now the trick here in throwing off the hump is you don't want to go down below where you got it centered. Because obviously it won't be centered. So I've only centered this top part here.
Bad.
So if I throw a nice interior shape here, I know when I trim this, it's going to end up in a nice form. On the outside. Okay, this may be bigger than I need right now, but I didn't want it that thick, so. Oh, no, perfect. Okay. Okay. When you go to cut this off, it's really helpful if it's even, if it's level here. Have you tried to trim something that's kind of like this on the bottom and it's really hard? One thing that you can do is trim it a little bit by hand before you put it on the wheel, because you know how you go over the high spot and then you get beyond the high spot and whang, and you take off a whole bunch. Not so good. So this is one way you can make that not happen with something like this, is I'm coming across straight here. I'm going to take this away. So I've got kind of a flat plane. So then I can run my wire using that flat plane as a guide. So I don't end up with that, you know, unevenness that's really hard to deal with. Okay, so it can, you know, then I can just take this off. And you know, if you want to lift stuff off the wheel, you can use either the 6-prong approach or the 2-prong, and you just lift and rock. You'll be able to pick it up. Another thing that's important if you're going to pick up wet stuff off the bat is if you have your hands dry, it's a little easier. Okay. So I will wait for this to set up, flip it over and trim it. You can put a knob on it, whatever, but it will be fitting on my lid like so. Like that. Okay, so let's talk about this guy. And this is kind of like if you're going to throw a candle holder or something like that. You know? They're just throwing a flat piece, pretty much.
Basically, you're getting 2 pieces out of that one piece
Yeah,
of clay.
yeah. And I don't have to get up and re-wedge, and you're not wedging tiny little amounts of clay, because you know it's hard to wedge something that's that small.
You just recentered that bottom piece.
Yeah.
It's like the beginning of a ring holder.
Yeah, kinda. Now that knob that's on it's kind of ugly, the one that little example that I've had for years. A little bit more diminutive kind of knob here. And I'm compressing this because we don't want it to crack.
When you fire them, do you fire them together?
Yeah. Because the thing is you don't want them to work independently because then they'll never fit together. Can't figure out where my sponge is in. Smooth that edge. And then, I'm going to cut this off. Well, how do you trim the other side? You don't need to trim the other side. All you need to do is take the Surform or the kitchen scrubby and just take that hard edge off of there so it's not sharp, and you're all set. You don't have to really trim the other side of this. Yeah, so instead of this one, this is too big. What did I do? Bad measurement. Okay, but it would fit inside there. That's the idea. Okay. All right. So, try making a little piece. And you can either do a flat one, and then the little sticks are in here for you to do the you each get one. I made it just for you. Okay.